Okay, so next up we're going to talk about airlines, okay? Because your personality needs to match up with the airline. First of all, it's going to be the best way to be able to get hired, right? If you are bubbly like me, you do not want to be going to United, okay? If you are super serious, you do not want to go to Southwest. If you're somewhere in the middle and you're kind of whatever, then we can get you into American. If you're like bougie, such as myself, right? Which I got bougie because you got to be bougie in Delta. They Zach Posen, $400 each. You get tailored, okay, to your uniforms. Tailored, leather gloves, Fendi purse, Zach Posen. You know, we couldn't even like. So this is the I can't remember that Richard Plant. Robert. He's a designer. These are the I can't remember it. I can't access that part of my brain right now. But these were the famous Delta red dresses with the red pearls, right? So when I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be a Delta flight attendant. I'm gonna get the red dress and the pearl. And actually I did. Obviously I have one. But I was I was in the last class that was able to wear this. So we graduated in these red dresses and but we got fitted in training for the purple ones. So I got to go through that whole process. I wasn't able to graduate with my class because I ended up getting really, really sick. I took down a plane with an anaphylactic shock. And that's the second time in like 3-month period. So yeah, the FAA doesn't like me or my immune system. There's more to that story, and I'm welcome to share that in my Patreon, but definitely a reason why I come on here and talk about the pros and cons of being a flight attendant. But that being said, so, you know, we got fitted for the Zach Posen, so leather gloves, like, I mean, it's fitted, tailored, beautiful. They, on average, and it's probably more than that, when I was in prison, when I was doing time at Delta, at the Marriott. Y'all know it. Peachtree, woo woo. They spend on average $22,000 on each recruit that they have. So I was in a class of 120 out of a full 1,200 or 1,900 out of the year hired. Like I said, 375,000 to 1 million or 500,000 applications for 1,900 positions just for Delta. So you want to be able to tailor yourself to the airline that you want to go into or get close to. Here's the thing is I did not get Delta. I ended up going to the face-to-face, and anybody knows who's tried to get into Delta, like it's 6 interviews. The last interview is the 6th one. So to get to the interview, right, in itself, the face-to-face, a big deal. And then I screwed the pooch, and then you can't even apply for another 6 months, right? So I was like, let me go ahead and get experience, which is funny enough because with Delta, they don't really like to have people with experience, like it or not. Also, we're going to talk about, okay, the airlines. Okay, we'll talk about that another time. So I'm going on and on about Delta, but there are so many different airlines. And here's the thing is, like, if you want to hop on something like Spirit, you know, or Allegiant, here are the things. I will tell you, safety-wise, Allegiant pilots won't even let their families fly on Allegiant Airlines, okay? Let's just go there. Now, Frontier and Spirit, they're not awesome, right? They're not comfortable. They're a discount or whatever, but it's like going to the Dollar Tree versus Target. You're going to get what you're going to get, right? And the airplanes aren't falling out of the sky, so let's just say that. But I will say, on a maintenance tip, just Allegiant, and here's the thing you have to understand. The problem with Allegiant is because there are no overnights. So if you want to be a flight attendant and you are a mother and you don't want to leave base, Allegiant would be an option for you. I hope you're reading not even between the lines, but because they are a daytime, like they don't do overnights. So you can be in Fort Lauderdale and you can do flights all day and come home and get flight benefits, right? And I would be like, wouldn't you do that all day long? Because if you don't want to go on flights with, on Allegiant, here's the thing is once you're with an airline, any airline for 6 months and you keep your nose clean with the FAA, there's something called Z fares. So basically you can hop on to any other, you can either get severely discounted like 80% off on other airlines, if not fly for free on standby or pay just taxes or whatever, it depends. So that opens you up if you don't want to be just a full-on, and maybe Allegiant's gotten better, right? I've been out of the game, so let me not completely talk trash on them. I would go ahead and do your homework. But if you want to be have flight benefits, but not necessarily flight attendant or want to go home, check into Allegiant then, right? Check into do your due diligence. Okay, I'm just only going on from the information that I have. So you've got, so there are a lot of subsets. Here's another great thing though. There are a lot of subsets. So you have Mesa Airlines. Mesa, it's a regional airline, but it contracts out for United and American. I worked for Mesa. It's very, very easy to get hired on Mesa. They have such a high turnaround. I can get you hired there like that. What's the great thing? You get hired on and you end up working for United or American under their code share. What does that mean? You learn everything about United. You learn everything about American. You work in their uniforms. You just don't officially get your paycheck from them, right? You're on Mesa's aircraft, which contracts out to them, but they abide by their rules. So if you get on with Mesa, which is super easy to get hired onto, and then if you're willing to like wait a couple of months and then apply to American or United, they will snap you up like that because they know that you've already been trained on their code share, right? So personalities, regional versus mainline. The difference is regionals are those like, so Envoy, Mesa, doing the smaller flights, but they're a subset of the larger one, right? So it's easy to do, like, it wouldn't be considered a lateral move, but to go up but also getting an idea for the culture. I realized when I worked on the United side, even though I loved Dulles, the base, I did not love the United code share. American, so much cooler, right? But a little, dirtier and a little less, it's kind of like Outback versus Red Lobster, working between the two of them, completely different, right? They have a completely different way of working. My ex was, high up in the ladder with Southwest, like, management. And so like getting to realize, first of all, getting any information about Southwest is like it's like an 18-month hiring process. People crash the site. You think Delta is hard. I think Southwest is even more difficult because people crash the system getting on there. That's why I'm saying you have to get ready now, because you got to get here's the thing is, no, you don't. You can be any size. As long as you fit into a jump seat, you can. But do you want to have an upper hand or, be able to run circles around the other candidates? You've got people from Broadway, the military, all over the place competing for these. So yeah, get your body on point, get your social resumes, your social media scrubbed up, right? These people go on, if you're out there like smoking stogies and do you think that's what an airline like Delta or, maybe Southwest, just saying. Do you think that's like the type of person that they want to be represented by, right? So definitely choosing the right airline and the right way to go. You can also do charter. There's also private, right? So you can get your private flight attendant license and you can work on private jets and you're like the chef and the cook and you're in St. Lucia and the family's doing this and you're like going around. You have to get like your exotic pets license. You got to be able to deal with dead bodies on a plane. If you want to be, a corporate like NetJets or something like that, or you can be a charter flight attendant and you can work for like Atlas. You can fly like military flights and go all over. I worked in a crash pad where most of the chicks were Atlas flights. They go for 30 days at a time. They make mad money. But sometimes they're in like Abu Dhabi or like Afghanistan or like Alaska for like 28 days with a bunch of dudes, because it might be a military TDY or something like that. So many options. And then there's also like foreign airlines which love to have English speakers. It's kind of like we love to have a Portuguese speaker. You can go to other places and fly on their airlines as well. So lots of options if you want to talk about them, and I'm always interested. And if I don't know the answer, I have plenty of resources that can absolutely help you. So please consider checking out my consultation services. I'm going to have a digital something or other for you soon, but I'm just trying to get through some content right here and get this out to you. All right, catch you on the flip. Bye.